Yes. Okay, so we're good to go.
Yeah, we're good to go. So first,
yes.
Atom MicroProfile photo 1.
Yeah. Yeah. So this item, a few upgrades were proposed for the spec project to generate the artifacts in a different or cleaner way that would match the way it is expected now for how it's called the specification review tickets. So I think I will look up the proposed change in a couple of weeks, and then make the modifications myself, and then propose them in a PR, and then we can see if we accept them. It's not, it's more an aesthetical change. Is that the correct word? Cosmetic change. Instead of something very technical, but I think it's a nice upgrade for the project because there is some misunderstanding after things are generated in the place they are being generated now.
Okay, sounds good. So it's basically the spec, the PDF HTML is the same path.
Yes, I don't know. I'm not sure to go into all the details now, but yeah, it's really has to do with the generation of the artifacts that are necessary for the.
Yeah. So here.
Yeah. Yes, so Kevin and Roberto have suggested a few things that I can try to change and see what the result is.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. So the other thing, back to the photo 1. So also we have released a photo 1, but we need to do the marketing side. I have done the presentation for the slide deck for the MicroProfile photo 1. However, we need the design. I mean, not design. We need this website to be updated. So here it should be saying photo 1, and then the more information pointed to here, and etc. So it basically is need to create the ticket and work with the marketing team and to have the website properly done.
Yeah.
The other remaining thing is about the blog. So
yeah. I have one question about the presentation. I looked through it. Maybe I overlooked it, but I didn't see the listing of the requirements for the TCK compatibility.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I think that's kind of the draft I put in. Go ahead to
I will add it.
Edit it. So I basically yesterday I created this deck, started doing it. Yeah, add them in, and then we will work on the deck and also working on the website update. So so it's for the blog. So who, Edwin, are you going to start with the blog or?
Yeah, I must admit I didn't get to it. I've been working. It's been busy. It has been on my mind, and no, I didn't get to it yet. So either that needs to happen this week, or somebody else should do it. But
So I don't think it needs to be happen this week. However, we just need to get started. I will work with you, Edwin, for the blog. We don't need to make it blog super long because photo one is not big release. So I just think a couple of paragraphs will be able to do it. One page make a thing.
I think these discussions should probably move to the marketing alias, I mean, the marketing call.
Okay.
Yeah, probably.
So, but we need to get started and then discuss more in the marketing call Monday next week.
What is
Okay.
your expected date for the 4.1 to be released?
I think it will be nice next week because we released it to Maven Central, but we haven't. It will be nice to properly talk about it. I think it's Monday next week will be kind of if Adam and I will start to work on the blog. So Monday next week we have to look and then maybe it's kind of we do a further update and get ready and to push out next week. What do people think?
I mean, if we want to, we're almost at the end of July. So if we want to say July, I mean, it depends what you mean by release, right? I mean, technically everything is there. We could just send out a tweet saying it's released and follow up with the blog. Or we can just work on the blog over the next day or two. I don't think the presentation and stuff have to be done unless we want to have a big splash on the homepage. And that's going to change the date.
But really, we won't rewrite a release date. So that's being released. So this is more like a social.
So just a marketing release.
Yeah, yeah. It's more like after effect, after the fact. so it's just a follow up things. I think it's kind of it's not a bigger issue, and I don't think it's a huge task. For the slide deck, I already kind of pretty much done with it. But Edwin, Edwin will add kind of one more slide, and then like Monday next week we will just review it, and then and then we give everything to marketing team, and then they can deal with it. So that'll be job done.
One little remark. I'm on vacation next week, so
that's fine.
Yeah, I shall try to help you with it this week.
Yeah, that's fine. If anything, to be done, I will drive that. Thank you.
On the so we do need to get the website updated.
Yeah.
Because it says 4.0 currently, so we would need to do that before we would do a tweet, or we wouldn't have anything to link to.
I mean, if we're not worried about, well, let's see, since we've already released it and technically in roadmaps and stuff, we can say it was released in July. I just push all this discussion to the marketing call on Monday. I know that you're going to be gone, Edwin, and actually so will I. I'll be on PTO. I don't know. I just suspect there's other technical things that we might want to cover on this call.
Yeah. I think we pretty much done. I think at least find out what need to happen next.
So one of the things I was just going to say is that, since we know, with the whole votes and all that kind of stuff, we should file these marketing tickets maybe a little earlier.
True. Yep.
Yeah. That
learn from the. Yeah.
And because we do have an anticipated date, like, okay, well, the vote's going now and it should be available between this date, 7 days, and that date 14 days. So can we get everything teed up?
Yeah, fair point. So when we do a next release, we'll just when we do a ballot and etc. at the same time, we can open up the marketing like a gate ticket for marketing.
Yeah, and let them know the dates. If there are no like delivery dates associated with it, it'll just get backburned.
Yeah, because one thing that we do with Jakarta is that we we have a goal for the development release, and then we have a goal for the marketing, release, if you want to call it that. And so at least then you know what you're driving for, and it just helps with coordinating.
Yeah.
Either way, file the ticket. I suspect we could get it. I suspect it could be done this week. So I don't think there's any reason to wait till the Monday marketing meeting. Just file the ticket.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. We will talk offline. We find out. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So it's for the 5.0, I think we covered in the last week's call. So most of the spec have made pretty much great progress. So it's just, I mean, some spec started engaging with the implementation. So it's trying to get a compatible implementation to follow with the spec update. So that's kind of quite good. Are there any questions or anybody else who want to provide any update for 5.0? Okay. The next one is open telemetry. So it's basically the group is still meet up on Monday. So trying to discuss all different options and etc. I know it's a kind of from the mailing list conversation and the proposal will end up in the sandbox. But at the moment, it's a group the people working on the open telemetry initiative and have all different ideas and etc. Trying to explore different ideas. So things will kind of when the idea is settled and a concrete proposal will happen on the sandbox. And then are there any if anybody is interested in the open telemetry meeting, please join the group discussion. So it's in the calendar. So it's the meeting is in the calendar for Monday. It's open telemetry, so it would be nice to have more people to join in and share some ideas and etc. And then
did you post that to the Google group as well?
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, I will do that. Thank you. And then the other, this is at term probably is needs have more discussion about alignment between MicroProfile config and Jakarta config. So to give you some more background in the kind of this more context for this conversation, as you may know, Jakarta config is the group is doing spec work in the Jakarta EE land. At the moment is kind of define some technical requirement and etc. And it looks like is the kind of the Jakarta config will be kind of goes to the different direction from MicroProfile config. So that will end up you have two config. And also is we said, okay, in the Sim4G messaging kind of the proposal, etc. The two working group work together. There's some concern is kind of the what will happen with this one Jakarta config is taking off the ground, and then we still have MicroProfile config in the MicroProfile land. Where how can we kind of convince? How can we form a good ecosystem to demonstrate a two working group work together? Is that makes more sense to move MicroProfile config to Jakarta and evolve from there instead of Jakarta define something from ground up. So open for discussion here.
One thing I will say is that August 10th, we're going to have the first CN4J technical call, which is the first meeting is going to just be about, I think, scope of the meetings, regularity of the meeting, stuff like that. I don't know if we'll be digging into a topic like this, but if there is time, maybe we could fit it on the agenda. We'll see.
Yeah. So the first question is, what people feel like a MicroProfile config will be almost like obsolete. If a Jakarta config make it to the core profile and the MicroProfile adopt core profile, and then is kind of the what MicroProfile situation. So
No,
Well,
I
what-
wouldn't refer to it as obsolete. I would refer to it as there are two things, and we want to avoid that.
Yeah. What's the technical direction that's different?
So the technical direction is, I mean, from Jakarta land is kind of basically trying to, I mean, define, kind of come up with some different use case, and without like directly thinking to base MicroProfile. So it's a technical direction is like, this is more like, okay, I don't like what a MicroProfile does. I want to do something different. So
Yeah, like I was looking for a specific example.
so it's a, I mean, like a Jakarta config trying to say, okay, I don't want to depend on CDI, for example, right? A MicroProfile config is based on CDI.
Half of it,
Yeah, exactly. Half of them.
right? There's the plain Java version where you can look stuff up, but if you want the dependency injection, that's through CDI and annotations. So
Yes.
so far the Jakarta fig does not want to adopt the dependency injection and just do the Java SE equivalent.
So it's basically just do Java SE equivalent, and also is saying, but I don't disagree. The idea is saying, oh, for CDI integration push to CDI. I said that's not going to go well with the CDI because CDI doesn't want to know what config evaluation and etc. So it's yeah. So this is one thing. The other one is kind of the, or go down the a different route and saying, okay, MicroProfile config is kind of flat structure. Maybe it's better to cope with the tree structure. So it's but it's that kind of all the different, I mean, different ideas to fix the same, to cater for the similar kind of use case. And again, it's kind of annotation, like, or it's kind of configure property, that's a CDI annotation. Maybe it's directly come with kind of directly different annotation without using CDI and etc. So I think here's a kind of the trouble is the risk is kind of the, without a same baseline, without a same understanding in the Jakarta config, and then it's the kind of the to fix the same problem is that people have different ideas. So MicroProfile config already explored the one route. Obviously, that's not only route. So it's the risk is people could go down a different route. He said, no, it's I don't like it. I want to go to a different route. So that's the kind of the problem is. So basically, it's we want to use this like space here, and to see what the MicroProfile community think. So do we want to like move a MicroProfile config to Jakarta and evolve there, or what if a Jakarta config come up with a completely different thing? What are we going to do with it? obviously we can't tell Jakarta config from MicroProfile community what they should do. However, people involved in here and probably should get better involved in there as well.
I had kind of thought we would copy everything over as is, update the namespace, discontinue developing it under the MicroProfile namespace, and go forward.
Yeah, but that's not. I started with that like a proposal, even though I think I said okay, we can use MicroProfile namespace. However, I think using Jakarta namespace is also kind of is okay. But people directly shoot me on the ground and say, no, don't put MicroProfile config to the Jakarta config. So Jakarta config is free to do anything they want. So that's why it's kind of you need to be careful.
Who were these people that said that?
That's all on the Jakarta config PR comment. I'm trying to GitHub. So I opened the one issue on the Jakarta.
What do others here on the call think about the concept of just migrating the spec over, updating the namespace, and continuing development under the Jakarta namespace?
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah. To be fair, I've been listening into the config calls as well, and I mean, they haven't said anything about this or that. They're just now trying to define the goals and non-goals, and then figure out, would MicroProfile solve this as it is, the config there, and then maybe that's an option. But nobody has said anything about should it be moved over or should something completely new be. It's just on a architectural level discussing goals and non-goals at the moment. So no decisions has been made whatsoever.
Even though I think there's no decision being made, but if you look at the minutes, looking at the technical direction is, I don't think is going down to the MicroProfile config path. To be honest, I don't know whether you attended all the meetings, Eva. I know you were on some of the meetings, but we did discuss one meeting. What's 3 weeks
Anyway,
ago?
Scott, you had some thoughts to try. I hear you trying to chime in.
Yeah, I posted the Jakarta config dev list, and I mean, I've only been on one call, but I've read through the list, and I've talked to David Lloyd, who is one of the people trying to coordinate this, and the discussion that I've heard so far is more along the lines of what Ivar's talking about. I mean, there are some critiques that are coming from some of the people in the Helidon camp who did not like some of the things that MicroProfile was doing and some of the ways that things have been addressed. So supposedly it is a restart, which is going to try and determine what they think they need for Jakarta as a configuration spec. That's all I've gotten out of the discussion so far. I think it's you know, there's not agreement, certainly not agreement to take MicroProfile config as it exists, because there have been concerns expressed as to whether or not it's what they actually want. So that is the real issue, whether or not it's a complete transformation and it moves forward with basically a new API. The concern that was brought up in the meeting that I did attend is, you know, how are we going to deal with existing configuration implementations, the MicroProfile config implementations? And, you know, that basically was chalked up as one input into the requirements.
So that is listed as one of the technical requirements then?
Well, it's something to discuss. To me, they haven't even defined all the technical requirements yet. That's still a discussion that's going on.
Right. But, I guess the way that I look at it is that, we have an existing quote implementation. And so to start with Jakarta config and then to try to start with just a blank slate, to me, that doesn't sound like the right approach. It's like, okay, you've got something that works. So why wouldn't you kind of start with that or most of it or whatever? And then as Jakarta config evolves, then maybe that API evolves as well.
Yeah, that's exactly my perspective.
Well,
Yeah, mine as well.
There's simply word critique of that it was the right starting point. So I mean we had this discussion before. And there were several people from the Oracle teams, both Heladon and another project, that they just didn't feel that they could do that. So that's the issue.
Well, the fact of the matter is then they're still got to support both.
Well, I don't know what they will have to do in their product. I mean,
they're MicroProfile compliant. So,
well, if there are two, when Jakarta config comes out, there are two configurations, that's a bad state to be in. So I don't think there's any question that we're not going to support that. So we're certainly pushing. So there's only one config. I mean, the question is, how is it going to happen?
Yeah, I brought these up in the one. I've only been to one config call so far due to schedule conflicts, but I basically brought this up as well, and they keep falling back on, well, this is just goals. This is just technical requirements, and goals is the word they use as opposed to requirements, but and they're trying to keep them technical and not deal with the namespace issue, and not deal with in some ways the fact that MicroProfile config already exists. Maybe that's an overstep, but it's kind of the vibe I recall.
Yeah, but I know how these conversations start, and once they start that way, they don't stop.
Yep.
An idea gets added, then people get married to their idea, then they start justifying the differences, and they're digging their heels in, and the gap gets wider and wider. It never gets narrower.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing is we define two conflicting functionalities, like this functionality not allowed in Jakarta, but that's functionality completely fine in MicroProfile. I think as a community, we need to solve this. And then so that's why we open, I think, this conversation. So before we all run into the similar problems, we need to do that, what we are going to achieve. Even Scott, you said that we don't want to have one config. I don't think that's the view shared by everybody else. I think somebody, proposed to have two configs.
Yeah, I can't see how anyone who's supporting both MicroProfile and Jakarta would want that, but
yeah, we wouldn't want that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of for the proposal, one is move MicroProfile config to Jakarta. I created another one. Proposal is saying, okay, MicroProfile config can adopt a Jakarta config and can do something else. So it's that's another proposal by other.
It's kind of interesting. So we have a config spec and we move it over, and then we say we support that one as opposed to the reverse. We have a spec here, MicroProfile, and Jakarta supports the MicroProfile version. It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah,
That's what I had imagined that we would have done, right? In the days that we were proposing MicroProfile config as a JSR, that would have been the outcome.
right, yeah, exactly.
So that's that's what I was imagining that would happen.
So that's why I created this first issue and proposed to copy configure to Jakarta. And I was sure, so you can all see the comments anyway. So that's not accepted. So that's not agreed at all. So it's so you can see at least you can see what's the community heading towards.
Well, the overlap of the communities are incredibly high, right? It's all of us the same people. So, you know, it sounds like there needs to be a few more of us to jump on the list and say, we would support moving the MicroProfile config spec over, changing the namespace and going forward, building on that.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay if we want to make additional changes and tweaks.
Exactly.
That's totally acceptable. But, you know, starting from scratch and having there be two, what's the point of all this alliance garbage if we're going to do that?
Exactly.
I don't have an infinite amount of time to waste.
Yes. So again, if we have like infinite time, yeah, we create another one MicroProfile config and complete use a different solution to fix the same problem. Sure. So it's the kind of why we start from scratch again. So it's so that's why I think before the people go down too far on the road, we just need to send a clear message. So it's kind of eventually we say, okay, and that with the effort, well, we should just have a conversation, I mean, up front. So before people go down too far. So it's so as a community and etc., I think it's kind of Scott and I think I did put something together about moving. I think that would be nice to have you, David, if you want to also join to support this proposal.
Yeah, I would happily support it. Happy to post in the list that's what we were thinking about when we approved the project creation.
Yeah.
You know, and I think if everybody would post on the list and say, well, that's what we thought what was going to happen when we voted, you know, that's.
Yeah. Not to put words into Emily's mouth, but I think that's part of the reason why we're bringing this up on this call.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you, Kevin, David. So this is a kind of proposal. So hopefully we can discuss more in the C4G call, John scheduled. So David, if you want to add anything on this one, it'll be good. It would be even better if you put yourself as a proposal sponsors as well. So I think it's kind of will make this quite strong.
Yeah, I'm happy to sponsor a proposal if you want to draft it up.
Yeah, already drafted. So if
okay, give me a link and then I'll
so the link is on the minutes. So here is the kind of move to Jakarta. So so I'm okay to move this one, adopt Jakarta namespace. So how about Scott, John? So are you okay to, change the namespace?
Me?
Well, I mean,
no, Scott. Somebody was going to talk.
yeah, I mean, if that's a compromise, ultimately has to be made to gain some ability to support, configuration with our existing products. Yeah, if that's what's needed to be done, that's fine. But I mean, it's far from clear to me that this proposal is going to be accepted. I mean, we have people, who are saying that there are changes that need to be made. And they want to reevaluate what the goals and what the requirements are, and then come back to dealing with the existence of this implementation.
That's fine for people to say that, but you know, that plan has to go before the plan has to go before the spec committee and get approved.
Right.
So
And keep in mind, whatever decisions are made, I think it's kind of been touched on already. Precedents are being set,
yeah,
right, for future conversations.
I was imagining that the namespace change would happen in some way that backwards compatibility tools could be written. You know, if an annotation name gets renamed here and there, but fundamentally the same, that's understandable. You can handle that in tooling. But a complete rewrite with new goals and two different APIs effectively doing the same thing, and articles in the news about which one is better and which one to use when.
Yep.
Not interested.
Yeah.
Nope, that'll kill both.
Exactly.
exactly.
This was just like advertise. Oh, these two people can't get along.
Yeah, that's true. And then
Damages.
before we know it, there will be a talks about compare them.
Yeah, well, that's not, you know, we're not competing against each other. We're competing against other initiatives like Spring, other languages. You know, I was in a big corporate environment as a consultant one time, and they said, you know, Windows is bad and everyone wants to get rid of it, but it's not. We'll never be able to get rid of it because it's not a question of is there something better. Is it a question? Is it that bad that's justifying the cost of getting rid of it? Sort of a similar thing. It's like, is the config API that bad that we can't actually use it, and we're gonna have to go through all these other costs? Sure, there might be better ideas, but we can evolve that direction. We don't have to go there right this second. We can take the whole community with us.
Yeah. And then it's fine if it's a new kind of, if someone raises the issue and will evolve from the Jakarta config. It's not like, okay, I don't like this annotation. A name is not good. I want to use a different name. I think once it's come with a personal attachment and etc., is quite difficult.
Well, yeah, that's, you know, as I said, once people start introducing ideas and start putting the distance there, that distance never gets shorter.
Yes. Eventually, they all go to different paths, different directions.
Right.
Okay, I updated that. So Eva, I think your comments about if we update the namespace, your comment about a namespace thing, I think also Kevin support that. It will be solved as well. Okay, David, the link is in here in the minutes. This one.
See if I can find that.
In
I had the minutes open.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you've already got two sponsors.
But I think it's the more the better, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. All right.
So
I know.
add a name in. Oh, sorry, Robert, Edwin. Do you want?
I don't know if my sponsorship is worth anything for them, but
Yeah, it is.
You
You're,
come-
you're a
you come
member
up
of the
with-
working group.
Yeah, that's a lot.
You
So
represent the community, right?
Yeah.
so I can try and help out with defending this proposal and getting it through because I support it as well. So you can write my name down if you like at the sponsors.
You can type it in yourself.
Yeah. Add
Oh.
it's there. Add yourself.
All right.
Otherwise,
We don't want the edit history to have someone else adding you, right?
Exactly. So that's why I make sure the link is on the minutes. You know, I'm not
Oh,
directly
this is
typing
wrong.
your name in
Oh.
there.
Where are you logging this?
Oh, in the minutes. Can you see that? In the technical discussion minutes, there's a link.
Yeah, there's several links. I'm sorry.
Oh, the
Yeah.
one proposal move MP config to Jakarta EE and evolve
Yeah,
from there.
I'll see if I can paste it.
Or paste on the chat.
Yeah.
I don't have edit rights here, so I
Yeah, me
cannot-
either. I just requested them.
Yeah, I will move up there and why don't you suggest a comment and then I accept it? And then we can do it on the call. Can you comment on it? Can you add?
No,
Okay,
don't have the ability to suggest edits.
okay, let me fix it. Strange.
I think there's just 3 settings: view, comment, and edit.
Yeah.
They don't have a suggest edit 4th setting.
Okay, I shared. I got yours shared. Okay, both you and Edwin. So David and Edwin, you should be able to edit it.
It still says request, but I'll just send that again.
Refresh.
Yeah, I did refresh.
Sure. Remember to log on, use your Gmail.
Wait. I requested via my Tommy Tribe address.
Oh, it says use
Oh, there we go.
email
I got
address.
it. I got it.
Okay. So with this proposal, do we need to create presentations or not? Or is it good enough?
I'm not aware of a presentation requirement.
No,
Right.
this reads pretty easy.
Yeah, there are technical also. Should be this should suffice, right?
Yeah. So that's good. So Ed, I also give you the approval as well.
I'll just do it like that. It's both, but whatever.
You can say the same thing as Kevin said, Jakarta EE and MicroProfile.
Yeah, well, it's fine. I think it's understood.
Okay.
I don't know. Not everyone knows you, David.
Yeah. So do we want to go through this one to have a more kind of, I think is we don't have any other, and we have a remaining 10 minutes.
Yeah, you want to walk through the thing?
Yeah, walk us through this one. So the use case. So it's a Jakarta EE spec like a genome SQL need to utilize MicroProfile config. So this is reason MicroProfile config is managed by MicroProfile. It might introduce break changes. So this is why it's the kind of Jakarta spec doesn't want to directly depend on MicroProfile. So Jakarta EE spec would like to adopt config and evolve in Jakarta as a core spec. Is that, do we need to add anything else? Do we need to add more use case or context?
It's
I think
fine,
that's fine.
guess.
Okay, so
Yeah,
proposal. So
sorry, Emily.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, okay, you can say specs such as GNOSQL, but probably all specs can be benefit from the config. So I think almost every spec has some use cases.
Yeah, I think we can just remove that and just say
Oh, okay.
Jakarta E specs.
Yeah.
Can benefit from, I don't know. Yeah, whether or not they need to utilize them is, there we go.
Okay, good. Proposal, the first one, the move the entire MicroProfile config to Jakarta EE. We're updating namespace to Jakarta. The Maven coordinates for MicroProfile specification will move to, do we need to, probably we don't need this anymore, do we?
That's leave it. It's good detail.
Okay. Okay. Further
It's
evolution.
plural. It's plural. That's not right, I think.
Ah.
For the MicroProfile config specifications.
There are plural coordinates.
Oh, but it's not, yeah. The coordinates of plural specifications is also correct, I think. You're referring here to all the specifications, but it's just the config.
Yeah, I get you.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, good point. Okay. Further evolution will take place under the Jakarta EE working group, or should we say Jakarta config work? Jakarta config.
No, you got it.
Okay. The spec group will continue the future work in Jakarta.
Here, like the as Jakarta config.
Yeah, the spec group will continue the future work in Jakarta. MicroProfile will no longer release any MicroProfile config. When here, we should say when Jakarta config is released.
And do we need to say something about freezing or locating our repositories here in GitHub? Understood.
I see. So here, no longer release any MicroProfile config, and GitHub repo will be marked as inactive.
Yeah,
you archive it.
Oh, we'll archive it. Here is a when. Is it like a when Jakarta config is released? Yeah. So when we stop working on MicroProfile config.
Archiving doesn't remove it. It just makes it. It essentially puts it in stasis.
And you could also just move the repo.
You could
then
redirects what happened.
Is the goal of this to? I mean, I thought there were some discussion about which features to keep and which features not to keep. I mean, I haven't been in any of those meetings. Is that on the table still, or is this proposing that it keeps all those current features?
I think the proposal keep all the current features, and then Jakarta kind of the thing. For example, if it's saying okay, split this SPI and out, and so that CDI can use it, and then they can rework. Not like okay, move the one API over and leave the other APIs behind. When we move it will be a bulk, it's a whole move.
So I'm pretty sure Dimitri is against doing that.
Hence the discussion.
I mean, I'm sorry I joined this late.
When did you join? Just so I have a mental minute.
About 15 minutes before the call. I mean, before the hour, I was in another meeting.
Okay. Oh, before the 12.
I will try to listen to this on the replay.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, there was a lot of conversation about whether, a restart was desired. And most of us here are not interested in a restart, evaluating new goals and new APIs and quote unquote learning from MicroProfile config. We would be more interested in migrating it over to the Jakarta namespace such that tooling could be used to handle the namespace migration. So it would have to be that to be feature parity. Afterwards, we can evolve it, we can remove stuff, we can deprecate it, but there should be a period of time where it is okay to where migrations can happen. So if we want to do things to it in the future, that's on the table.
So I am confident that Dimitri is not on board with that. So I don't know what that means here.
Yeah, that's because not everybody is on the same boat. So that's why it's, we need to discuss. And so that's why it's trying to find out who is on what kind of proposal so that we can have a,
Well,
detailed conversation.
yeah, I mean, I think the main thing was to find out how the MicroProfile community was thinking along these
Yeah.
lines.
No, he's part of that.
Yeah.
I know. Yep.
He's on vacation this week, or he would be here.
Correct.
Yeah, the other thing is not everybody in the community share the same view either. So yeah, so that's we need to bear that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think there's going to have to be some potential for a compromise, whether the initial release is potentially incompatible with the existing MicroProfile. It's just a question of what support can be, what support for the existing implementations go into it.
Yeah, so it's like the first release Jakarta config, and there should be a migration path between MicroProfile and Jakarta. And not like move over and delete them all. That's not acceptable either.
I think one of the disadvantages, mainly on the Jakarta EE side, is that when you just move it now as is and evolve it later on, then you have probably breaking changes, which is, at least in the past, not wanted with Jakarta EE.
Pragmatically, customers will already have breaking changes because most Jakarta implementations already also support MicroProfile config.
Yeah, but you don't need to use it. So if you are using pure Jakarta EE, and if you then are using a Jakarta config 2.0, whatever, then it is a major breaking change. Maybe.
John, did you say most Jakarta implementations already support MicroProfile config? I mean,
most Java EE / Jakarta support MicroProfile config.
I'm not sure that's true.
Right. Also, that some spec already, they introduce breaking changes as well, like a CDI. That's not like a completely forbidden, like a breaker changes, but you need to be kind of the extra careful with it.
Yeah, indeed, I don't say that it's not allowed, but maybe it is a better idea if we know that some things might or will change in the very near future, that you immediately include it within the change. So not just a plain move, but also do already the change so that the impact is lower on that side. Because on the MicroProfile side, there will always be a change because the namespace will change at a minimum. And we have within MicroProfile already more breaking changes and that faster moving, evolving thing.
So I'm sorry I was late. I thought that the EE team was trying to work out a method by which they would, consider and adopt or try to, prune features. Is this proposal basically saying they don't like that approach? that they don't want to let the Jakarta config team work that out as part of the the introduction of Jakarta EE config.
Sorry, who said let Jakarta config to work it out?
This is Ed.
Yeah, yeah, I know, Ed. So you said that who gave the direction for Jakarta config to work it out?
Dimitri is related to me, and again, I'm not in the meeting, so I can only know this secondhand. They're trying to essentially go feature by feature and say, okay, we want these, we don't want that. Part of the, I think, and I don't have any of the feature specifics for that, right? I was sort of hoping we wouldn't have discussions like this until Dimitri could be present, but here we are. Part of that discussion, I think, really has to do with, features that we adopt in Jakarta EE tend to have a lot, well, we have in the past had been less willing to, break things as we move forward in releases, right? But there has been some of that. I'm not saying that we never do it in Jakarta EE, but and I know that revisions on config have, there have been breaking changes as it's progressed from, release to release. So
Right.
And so when I think some of the thinking that will go into this is once the features are in there, that we would like to continue that. We don't, so we would, if we think things are going, could present difficulties to continuing to support them, we would like to just not adopt them. But I'm not, I don't want to relate. I don't really want to speak in detail for Dimitri. So I think I'm just going to say I was sort of hoping that the Jakarta EE config team could decide what it wanted to keep and what it didn't want to keep. And I was hoping that we could let them come up with that proposal.
Well, them is we also. And so
yes,
I think that
this isn't that
can
config
occur.
team, and this is sort of, I mean, I guess maybe this should be referred to the config group and let them decide how they want to, if this is.
Yep.
I'm also a committer on that.
Yeah, I'm also a committer on that group as well. And so I believe, Emily, are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm not saying that there aren't representatives here. I'm just saying that's the group that should, we should, to me, this feels like we're trying to inject oversight into that process, which maybe that's what you want to do. But to date, we have tried to allow the committer teams to, handle those details.
Yep, that's one consideration. Another consideration is that if there are two config specs that are incompatible and people write industry articles and which one is better, it promotes a narration that Jakarta and MicroProfile are competing.
Yeah, so this is the kind of the down the line is going to create a problem. I know Jakarta config team say, okay, we're only interested in the technical aspect. However, not everything is like pure technical. And we also need to think about what the message will be used. For technical thing, yeah, we could all come up with all sorts of different solutions.
And Dave, to your point,
I'm
sorry, I thought you were finished.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Dave, to your point.
Yeah,
Emily, you want to let Ed get his sentence out?
So to your point, David, I guess I would say I'm hopeful that the committer team can make those choices. That they don't need to get external proposals, recommended to them.
Well, I guess I'll say it like this. When I voted +1 on the thing, on the project creation, I was probably not paying enough attention because I thought it was going to be a migration of the MicroProfile config API to Jakarta. That's what I thought I was voting on. So that was the team that I was, that was what I thought I was voting on. So if that's not what the plan is, if someone had put forward a plan, we're going to create a competing or potentially very different spec to MicroProfile config, and it may go in a different direction. Let's approve the plan now. This is a clean room implementation. I would not have voted +1.
Is that what we think is happening? Again, I'm not in those meetings, so I don't know. Is that the impression that this group has?
You're saying it's a separate group and it's not related and we should let them forge their own path. And I'm saying if that had been proposed, I would not have voted +1.
Correct. So I'm with you, David. So my +1 was based on the moving MicroProfile config over. So that's why I proposed the first issue and then volunteer to do the work, but that's not being well received. So
yeah, okay. Well, I didn't have that impression from the proposal, and especially I also didn't have that impression from previous discussions where we talked about how the specs would interact. But hey, look, I'm not trying to make this to inject too much. I'm just sort of, I guess what I'm saying, I'm hoping that the config group can decide how it wants to work. It seems like this is suggesting that we don't believe that they're going down the right path.
Yeah, it's a different views. It's basically. By the way, we are 7 minutes over. Think are we happy with the proposal? I think we can all work offline. And then anyway, if we can work offline among the proposed sponsors, and then to be discussed in the next E4J call, not E4J, CM4J call. Okay, so I think thank you so much. It's time to close the call.
Hey, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Bye.